And as we approach the month of March, we are reflecting on the last 2 years of living during the pandemic.
For the third part of our COVID 2 Year Later series, we check in with some people in the business community, including one shop owner coming face to face with almost losing everything and starting over. I sat down with a few to hear their struggles.
A million things were running through my head. It was traumatic.
2 years ago in March, the COVID-19 pandemic began in the United States. Kate Gord, owner of Cooper's Gifts in Agawam, feared for her business.
I was absolutely terrified. I didn't know what was going to happen, if my business would survive, when we'd be allowed to reopen.
She had to lay off all 7 of her employees, a phone call she never wanted to make.
I was extremely emotional, definitely crying, just very scared. I mean, it was a whole new world and no one knew what was coming next.
For 85 days, the doors of Cooper's Gifts were closed. With no staff, Kate had to run her business alone, trying anything to keep the lights on.
I did not take a single day off. I worked 85 days straight, trying to sell anything and everything that I could. I was beyond exhausted and running on fumes, but I felt I had no choice.
She says her family really started to worry about her health.
My husband was really very, very concerned about me. He was afraid I was going to have some kind of an emotional breakdown. My kids were worried about me. I lost an awful lot of weight.
Kate started an online store, turned to curbside pickup, and even made some deliveries on her own. But in the end, she said she proved to herself what she was capable of.
It was something that I don't want to have to go through again, but now I know that I can do it. So you learned how to pivot. I got really good at dancing.
Other businesses also had to learn to pivot during the pandemic, especially local restaurants.
It was a very tricky situation. Like I said, something that we've never seen in a restaurant before.
Nicholas McKay started working at the Crest Room in West Springfield as a cook, but quickly moved up the ranks. He got promoted to restaurant manager just a month before the COVID-19 pandemic hit, and soon he would have to work every position.
It's definitely taken a toll. Averaging with manager, 60, 70 hours a week due to just being understaffed.
The pandemic forced them to close their doors and shorten employees' hours.
Definitely there was some big layoffs. They thought they were going to be working their regular 5 days a week, 40 hours, and they would go down to either 15 hours or unemployed.
The Crest Room opened in September of 2019, so they were only open for about 6 months when the pandemic hit. While most restaurants were already established, the Crest Room employees had to get creative to promote their business and make it work for new customers.
A lot of customers were scared to come out. And they didn't want to sit inside or be around other people. Delivery is really probably what saved us.
They quickly upgraded their takeout service and added a delivery driver. And then they opened their backyard up to outdoor dining and live music. They made sure they increased their sanitation protocols and have employees wear masks to make their customers feel safe.
Things like that is what still kept us going through everything.
Over in Southwick, one business owner also had to change the way he does business, facing challenges after seeing an overwhelming increase in customers. Seth James is the owner of New England Bikes. A few months into the pandemic, his business was slammed with customers looking to start a new outdoor hobby.
It blew up, and our inventory kind of went out the door many months faster than it should have.
In order to help keep his customers and staff safe, James says they switched to curbside pickup. But they had a hard time connecting with customers, which James says is important to his business.
We're always going to have to be here because this is where we repair things, we fix things, but we also have that social interaction with all of our customer base.
And now James has a hard time getting his hands on enough supplies to keep up with the demand.
Our ability to go out and get some things really started to downfall, and by the fall, it was challenging to get anything at all.
Even 2 years later, the pandemic is still throwing curveballs to local business owners.